Nice try, communists, but pineapple on pizza is for nerds. Hey there, kiddos, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Uncle Frank, hoping that you are having a great day, and in today's video, I'd like to sit back in the very comfortable chair, relax, and have a little conversation with all of you guys about an aspect of the gaming industry that has been missing for some time, largely, that I do deeply kind of mourn the loss of and wish we could have it come back. And that is that's this little guy. If you're under the age of maybe 25, you might not know what this is. This is an instruction manual. That's right. Back in the day, a lot of video games would come with these little manuals. Just a few pages telling you the basics of how to play the game, what the story was, what the controls are. And honestly, I can understand why these have been phased out. Most of the time, you're lucky to even get a slip of paper with your new game purchase telling you the basics of how to turn on the console or access a new save file, right? If you're lucky. But back in the day, we used to get these really nice multi-page, really sometimes very elaborate game manuals that would sometimes go really in-depth to teach you, the new player of the game, not only how to play the game, but sometimes what the basic story was, the lore behind why you're on whatever adventure you're on. Some of them go through basics of combat. They would tell you about the enemies in the game, and would really just be a nice addition to the overall gaming experience. Now, this wasn't a universal thing. In my opinion, a lot of Nintendo games tended to have better manuals than their counterparts in Sony's PlayStation, for instance. I can name several PlayStation games where their manuals, if you could even get them out of the jewel case, were very bland at best. But there were a lot of Nintendo games that had just these absolutely beautiful, vibrant instruction manuals. The Legend of Zelda series, in particular, has some of the best manuals, in my opinion. They're usually, when they had manuals, they were very bright, well illustrated, very detailed on everything from movement to combat to enemy, to the kinds of enemies you would find in the game. And the original Legend of Zelda booklet came with these really nice illustrations that I don't think showed up anywhere else in the marketing material for the game. At the very least, I don't recall them showing up besides like maybe in pages of Nintendo Power. These nice little hand-drawn illustrations that have like nice little illustrations of the items, the enemies, Link himself, etc. And notably with the Legend of Zelda manual, it came with basically instructions on how to get to the first dungeon, which is really, really cool. So not only was it instructions on how to play the game, but if you were completely lost just starting out, it would give you a pretty good idea of where to go to begin your journey. And to take things even further, we have here, look at how beat up this thing is. This is the Final Fantasy manual for the original Final Fantasy for the NES. And yeah, this is an instruction manual. It does teach you how to play the game. It goes over the basics, starting a party, getting your names and all that jazz. But that's only like the first 2 pages of the manual, because the rest of it is a strategy guide for the game itself. It's not a manual. Sure, it may be seen as a manual by a lot of people, but this thing really is a guide for basically the first chunk of the game, up until the airship, right? Yeah, this thing tells you everything you need to know up until you get the airship, which is a decent chunk of the way into the game itself. It is a full guide for how to play the game, which is crazy to think about. Not only was that like kind of a crazy thing back then, but nowadays it would be basically unheard of because of the ease of access to the internet. And that becomes the crux of my thing here is I understand why game manuals have been phased out for the most part. They do cost a few extra dollars to produce. They do bring up production costs for any game they're attached to. And for the most part, they're not needed these days. A lot of games come with built-in tutorials. built-in lessons for how to play the game in the game. You don't need an extra manual to teach you how to play the game, how to move your character or do combat in those games. The game itself these days tends to do a good job of teaching it to you. And I know that there's people out there, and I'm one of them, who hate these kind of forceful tutorials that have been in games for quite a while now. It's not a new thing, trust me. I remember Mega Man X, for instance, interrupting gameplay quite a lot. I don't think it was tutorials, maybe just dialogue. But yeah, tutorials have been a part of games for a long time, and these manuals have been kind of phased out for a while. I feel like the GameCube into the Wii era was kind of the end of really good game manuals, I should say. And right around then, I think, is when a lot of games started having their own, like, really eloquent, really built-in tutorials. Dark Souls and Demon Souls, for instance, had these really elaborate tutorial sections of the game that I will always remember very well. And again, this is just to hold up the Zelda one. This isn't something I necessarily feel super bad about. It's just a piece of gaming history that we don't get anymore. It's a piece of the medium, a piece of the experience that I think is kind of unfortunate because, honestly, it to me feels more complete, more full to have this little booklet you can rifle through to learn some secrets about the game if it's done well enough. What are the enemies I might face? What are some items I should keep a lookout for? What are the basic controls? Do I even need to go through the tutorial if there is one? Or can I just look at the booklet to get all the information I need? But I understand. I do totally get why companies would phase them out over time. But still, there's a lot of... Some of them are super flavorful. Some of them are really nice. Not just the ones I've got here, obviously. But there's plenty of gaming manuals I've read over the years that are just really nice. And it's just a shame that, for the most part, they're not really necessary anymore. And that's... Again, it's not something I wish we could see a return for because most games don't need them these days. Most games are either very simple and easy to play, or they have their own built-in tutorials. So, much like how flintlock pistols have been completely phased out and made irrelevant by advancements in firearm technology, most video game manuals have been rendered obsolete by advances in not just video game designs themselves with the tutorials and all that jazz, but with the advent of the internet in general being more accessible now than ever before. You can easily go online and find out any basic information you want to find about the game. So it's just a sign of the changing times, but it does make me cherish these old manuals just a bit more, especially the ones that I enjoy quite a lot, like, again, the original Legend of Zelda, the original Final Fantasy, for what they are, for how detailed they are, for how beautiful they are on the inside. It's just this nice nostalgic piece of media, the kind of ancillary media that you don't really get these days. Like, video game manuals themselves are old, obsolete, but they're not the only ones, obviously. There's the strategy guides that have basically become completely irrelevant these days because of the internet. I still remember a lot of the old Pokemon strategy guides and how indispensable they were for a lot of people who were looking to collect all of the Pokemon. There would be people in the schoolyard who would be very proud to show off their Pokemon Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, Fire Red, Leaf Green video game guides, because that would tell them how to get all the Pokemon they needed to get. It was a different time, and it's very nostalgic to think about it. Do I wish it would come back? I think it would be nice for some games, especially at the price points some of these video game companies are charging for some of these games. I think it would be nice to get these really nice detailed manuals again. But at the same time, I'm not exactly... much like the flintlock pistol, it's not exactly something I think we need so much as it would just be a nice little inclusion, Especially for video games that, not just the base versions, there's a lot of collector's editions out there that don't have anything extra in them besides some digital content. come on, at least give those guys a pamphlet, right? At least give those guys a nice booklet with some nice illustrations of your game. I mean, you went through the trouble of designing it and all that jazz. Surely you have some art assets and some story stuff you want to share with the people who paid a bit more for your game, right? But hey, what do I know? This is just me bemoaning the loss of a nice little ancillary piece of media for our media, and just kind of happy that we had it in the first place, because we don't need more of it so much as I think we should appreciate what we did have. But that's all I got for you kiddos today. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like, share, subscribe, leave a comment down below if you agree with me, disagree with me, or think manuals are for pussies. Real men don't need no instructions on how to play their games. Do let me know. I read all the comments, just in case you guys weren't aware. Check out the Discord. Check out the Patreon. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.